This is the Bold and Inspired Leaders Podcast. I'm Kristen.
And I'm Amber. We're having conversations with people who make bold moves and lead inspired lives. Our hope is that these conversations spark something in us and in you.
Let's get started. Hello. All right. We're excited to have Don Fenstermaker today. Thank you so much. You are a visionary leader in the financial tech industry, and you've brought 3 companies to national recognition, and you're currently on your way to bringing a 4th.
Correct.
All right. That's very exciting. We're excited to be a part of that. That's M2I.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. That'll be the 4th company.
You are the former CEO of the largest privately held student loan company. And in that, you led the origination of $7 billion in loans, and you've been instrumental in pioneering new avenues for refinancing student loans.
Yes, that's correct.
Now, as Kristen said, co-founder and managing partner of M2I, you've taken all this experience and your knowledge of alternative investments, and you are in the process of creating and about to launch a revolutionary software for the industry.
Yes, that's correct.
But with all of this experience, you told us a story of the second company that you were involved in and an oversight, a critical oversight. Let's start there. Tell us more about that.
Sure. Second company was Next Student. Great company. We originated $7.5 billion in federal and private student loans. We were running multiple products. The company was launched in 2000. We had grown to 1,000 employees, 100,000 square feet of space, and a national brand of nextstudent.com, Next Student. We dominated in the internet. No one they couldn't unseat us in SEO or paid search. We were just absolutely dominant. And we got in a point, we're coming into 07, 08, there were some reg changes in the federal government. And I had partners that freaked, and they were very concerned. Although we were sitting on a $2.5 billion portfolio that was cash flowing net $8 million a month to the company. So we were in the catbird seat, basically. And they freaked out, and they didn't recognize how difficult it was to get where we had really what we had accomplished in that short span. Because when 2000 to 06, and we were nipping on the heels of Sallie Mae and then Nelnet. So those were the 2 publicly held companies. The partners freaked, and they basically did a coup against me. It was what wound up happening. And, in retrospect, I have a lot of years to think about that. The major error, and I would say to any entrepreneur, is to make sure that your operating agreements are rock solid. Had I paid more attention to that operating agreement, I wouldn't have left that vulnerability to partners that wanted to exit. And at the end of the day, what wound up happening was they stripped about $44.5 million of the cash we had out of the company. And going into 2008, we were well positioned. We could have easily weathered 08, 09. We had cash. We were just perfectly positioned to weather that. And unfortunately, the loss of that operating capital did not allow the company adequate time to recover, particularly coming into 08. But the bottom line was it was a great company. And with the current company, Y-Refi, which is the 3rd company, we actually refinanced some of those loans that we wrote back then. We do see the paper come through every once in a while of the old Next Student loans, which is funny, right? I mean,
Yeah.
It goes around, comes around, right? Yeah. So, So
that's, I'm just empathizing with you right now. Like, building a company it's a lot. It takes like mind, body, soul, it takes so much to build a company, and to build it to that level and then just have it, chipped away at and then come crashing down, and you have no control over it. Oh my gosh, that must have been been a hit.
It knocked the pennies out from underneath me for a while. It was emotionally very traumatizing to have built something to that level of strength. And I was sitting with 3 beautiful aircraft in the hangar, and our own hangar, and 6 pilots on staff, and all of that, and ability to do all of these things. And I'm 50 years old, and I'm like, okay, cool, I've made it, Yeah. And to find out that I hadn't, right? So that was really, really tough. But you have to get back up.
Yeah. How do you do that?
You know, I'm an entrepreneur at heart, and I love building things. I like to build stuff. And it really wasn't any other option. You know, I'd come out of the aviation world, some time in the Air Force, and then working for United Airlines and Honeywell, worked for the big corporations, and realized that I was very limited in what I could accomplish there. I wound up with a couple of patents out of Honeywell and some cool stuff. And, you know, there were just some neat things that I was able to do there. Got to fly around on Gulfstreams. Was working on Gulfstream projects. It was really cool, but it was very severely limited in what I was always going to be a person that got to work on the cockpits, maybe turn left when you come up the ramp, but not turn right to go to the back of the airplane. And you know, wasn't ever in that position. So, yeah. So.
Wow.
And I feel like when I listen to your story, I feel like just speaking individually, but I've also seen it in other leaders, founders, people who've started companies. It's this dance of constantly having to manage your fear, because you have to take big jumps. You have to invest. You have to trust people. You have to trust your business partner. It's like, there's just so much trust that goes into running a business and really building it, like really taking it to the next level and then continuing to take it to the next level.
Yes.
So I'm astounded that you were able to go through that. But now here today, I mean, everything we know about you is a visionary leader. You make big moves, you live in the future, you resource things, you invest in people and the things around you. You just really have seemed to, I don't shake it off. It's like sounds insensitive, but there's something that you've been able to do where you sort of were able to categorize that and file that away in your mind and not let it.
And in spite of all that, like the thing that I think we have talked about that we notice most about you is that you don't stop believing. Maybe you do, but you'd never show it.
Yeah.
You don't stop believing in the vision that you've cast.
No, you can't. You can't.
What you've been through.
I looked at the next student as a huge learning opportunity. You know, I'll tell people all the time, no hard work is ever wasted. There were other companies that small operations that we built. We worked with another developer, and we built this basically an app to do federal student loan documents, and run a couple other small companies. They never really got traction, but there's always that hope and that vision. And vision is one of our core watchwords at Why Refi and M2I. And I think a lot of business owners, they think they think there's like this fence in front of them. They can't think beyond that fence and think out 5 years, 10 years. Where do I want to be? If you set that vision that, you know, I want to build a $10 million corporation, well, you might build a $5 million corporation. Maybe that's good enough. But if you set the vision that you want to build a $1 billion corporation, if you hit 500 million, you've been fine. You've been more than fine. And so I think setting that vision, and it isn't just vision, that's just one part of it, but you have to always look at that vision. Where are we going? Where are we going? Where are we going 5 years?
You always say think big.
You do. Absolutely.
I think that is one of the biggest challenges that I've seen in our business, but then, or just in our journey, but then also with people that we work with who are building the same type of businesses that we are, or are within our industry, that we all have to elevate our thinking. I think you said everyone's got to get out of that garage shop mentality.
Yes.
And think bigger. And I think that's huge. I think that if you take one thing away from this podcast and we take one thing away from you, it would just be that we have to continue to think bigger. It's not big enough. It's not big enough.
That's correct. And people only see what they see, but you have to have, again, it's that word is vision. You have to be able to look out and picture what you want something to be. Where do I want to be? Where do I want to be in a month? Where do I want to be in a year? Where do I want to be in 5 years? Where do I want to be in 10 years? And really set that vision, and not me personally, but where do I want to be with the company? What can this entity do, and what's its outer limits? And to be always thinking about those outer limits of where that organization can go.
Is there a risk of thinking crazy?
No.
Like, okay.
No, I call
It's
it, no,
it's like, how do you dial that back if needed?
I call it orthogonal thinking, right? So, M2,
Everyone's going to need to Google that.
Yes.
no, that's my own made up thing.
Oh, it's a made up word. Okay.
I made it up.
We'll
You're
add it
thinking
to Wiki.
orthogonally, right? You're thinking out of, it's other people out of the box. But for example, M2I, right? It's this software that basically it's for the alternative investments world, and it caters primarily to sponsors, but it sponsors also advisors and investors. We're focusing on sponsors. Sponsors are people who have a company, an idea they want to bring to market, but they don't know how to raise the capital, which is another thing that you need. You need a good source of capital for your business, but they don't know how to get that capital. How do I get that capital? Well, we're building a platform to help people get that capital. So,
And that's amazing. That could single-handedly change our country where it's at right now, because big businesses are struggling.
They are, and one of the biggest things, and I touched on it with Next Student, and its ultimate demise was a lack of controlling the company, a lack of having that control. If you have to go out and get equity for your company, if you go over 50% giving away, or I'd say selling away over 50% of your equity, you've lost control.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you're in a public offering, that's a little different because you're going to do that. I've never had a desire to go public. People are, oh, you're going to go public. I've been asked multiple times. I don't want that. I don't want all of that accoutrements that go with it. And in my mind, they're not good things.
Mm-hmm.
Now you answer to a board. Boards are not bad things, but if you're building a nimble company and you're the fountainhead,
Yeah.
Nobody knows the business better than you. If it's your thing, nobody knows it better than you. So
I feel like every board I've ever worked with tends to slow down the momentum of a business. Have there been any where you've seen it not be that way?
no.
Yeah.
Yeah, they slow down the momentum. They're meant to keep you from making mistakes. But I do think you can mitigate against that strongly, and you can mitigate against that by having very good legal advice. So have a good corporate lawyer, and you're not going to find a single lawyer that's going to do everything for you, but you need a really rock solid corporate lawyer that you can trust, and that they're looking out for you, and they've got wisdom.
And they could take the place of a board.
They can. You also need good accountants. You need a good set of accountants. Accountants can steer you clear. Now, you have to, forgive me for all the accountants listening, but accountants, and it's more finance. I say accountants. Accountants look at what was. They're looking out the back of the boat. Your controller's looking at the deck. What is right now? Your finance is looking out ahead. Mm-hmm. So you need somebody that's good on the finance side that can project forward financially. And a lot of businesses don't do that. They don't look at what are things going to look like 5 years from now, 10 years from now. I just came out of a meeting, IT meeting, and we were discussing portfolio that we're controlling right now. It's Y-Refi is building, and our portfolio is 50 million-ish, something like that. But we're trying to build it up to $1 billion. That's where we're going with that portfolio, expanding a lot of market, but we're making a decision on, okay, we bring in all of our investment capital through M2I, and what kind of an offering can we do to the investors so that we don't have that investment outlasting the portfolio. And we're looking at put some features in, but you have to think, we were literally just now, 20 minutes ago having a discussion about, okay, what happens in 15 years? So it's important that you think out that far.
Yeah, wow. I would love to take a poll to see how many businesses are actually thinking 15 years out.
Yeah.
Not many, I would imagine. Yeah.
Probably not many.
Yeah.
Probably not many. Yeah.
You've talked about one of the biggest mistakes that you see business owners make is that they work in the business and not on the business.
Yes.
So what I've heard you say is that part of that, what you need to do to create success is that getting to work on the business so that your eye is on your operating agreements. You are looking forward financially. You've got the bandwidth to go and find the right accountants, attorneys, your team around you. But it sounds like everything you're talking about that's critical in a business requires getting out of being in it and instead working on it.
On it. That's correct. So,
But it's hard.
it's very
hard in the
hard.
early days.
Very hard. You know, when you're
Own yourself.
when you're really small, you're wearing those multiple hats, and you know the reality is that entrepreneurship is an 80-hour-a-week job. It just is. It's hard work. It just is, and there's no other way around it. Particularly in the early days, Y-Refi has grown to a point now where we have 4 accounting firms that we use, and we have about 4 or 5 legal firms that we use, and they all have different specialties. I know that the sales floor right now that's working the student loan side, they're doing their thing, got good management in place. I know they're doing their thing. Yesterday they had a near record day on the floor, was awesome. So, and likewise, the capital raise team, they're doing their thing. And it's building that structure. It's a top-down type structure. It can't be what I'm going to call the solar system management, where everything rotates around me, Don. It can't do that. Because if it were that way, the business would be limited by my ability, my brain, to track everything that's going on.
Yeah.
And I'm always trying to push tasks down to the lowest place that they can be pushed. But you have to have good, solid people with great training. They're motivated. Their goals are aligned with what we want, what my partner and I, Lane, want for the business. Their goals have to be aligned with our goals, and that's accomplished through some of the other core pillars that we've talked about. And one of them being employee compensation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to go a little off track because you said
Go
something
ahead.
that inspired me.
Go ahead.
So you're known as a man of being able to find talent
Yes.
in people and
You're a
collecting
collector.
talent.
I am.
Yes. How do you spot it? Like, what are some of the things where you're like, that's it right there?
And
It's-
we need to back this up because you've literally found people in restaurants who are core members of your team.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love food service from the aspect of it's a very, very hard job. And if you want to, back in the day of Next Student, I actually owned this thing called Next Coffee. It was the largest coffee store in Arizona. I don't know if you all knew that or not, but yeah, I owned Next Coffee. It was over right across from Midwestern University. And it was completed about '07, right into the whole debacle, right?
Oh, wow.
But the idea of Next Coffee was that we were going to do loans out of Next Coffee. We did a few of them, but we were right across the street from Midwestern University, was the lowest default rate in the industry. So like, okay, you know what? We'll undercut Midwestern University and set this up. In fact, they actually restricted the students. They couldn't come over as a group. They were so afraid of us, right? But, I'm sorry, I just lost my train.
Oh, how you find talent? How you spot
Oh, the
it?
talent. Yeah. So we're back. Yeah, we're back to that. Yeah. So what
You said you love the food service
what
industry.
I learned about food service, how hard it is. Yeah, I picked up 3-4 people that were either they were from Hillstone. Sorry to mention that, but
We love Hillstone.
yeah, the great restaurant,
Yeah.
right? Phenomenal
amazing.
training. Our hiring practices are really good, but after you get to know people, you see them in that environment. They're who they are as people. That matters so much. Who are they? What? And I was admired like Erica. She was running the entire store. Just absolutely admired her. And she came to us. She had since gone to another restaurant. She'd quit Hillstone, gone to another restaurant, and she approached us and said, "Hey, love to have a job." I'm like, Erica wants to come on board? Cool, bring Erica on board. My right-hand person who does some of our software design, database administration, helps out with that. Now, we have a tremendous amount of staff behind that's contractors that do our core development. There's 40 people that work on our software 6 days a week, pretty much round the clock. But Avery's my right-hand person that helps with that. And Avery was a bartender. And I remember Avery one time, she chided me for having my iPad open up at the bar. It wasn't allowed, right? I remember her coming up behind me, goes, "You can't." And I'm like, okay, shut the iPad, right? But one day I was talking with her, and she was really tired, and I said, "Avery, what's up? You're tired?" She goes, "I'm working my regular job." I said, "What are you?" She goes, "I'm a database administrator for Grubhub."
Wow.
I'm like, cool. You need to come into our tech
Yes.
meetings. She came into the tech meeting. Once she was in the tech meeting, realized the cool stuff we were doing. She was sold. That was it. And she came on board.
Wow.
Met the controller, our controller, phenomenal. Met her again at Hillstone, having a conversation about problems that we had in some with a prior accountant, and she's like, "Well, that's a root canal," as she put it, and I'm like, "You've just found your new job." So
Does Hillstone see you walk in now and go, listen, Don, no more recruiting?
they look at me, yeah, sometimes, but I'm a regular there, so yeah.
You've mentioned a couple of these pillars, but you say there are 11 pillars for a successful business.
I think it's really important that, me as CEO, my employees know I care about them. They know that. There's no doubt. And look, I'm a huge fan of, I don't know if you all remember the Master and Commander series, but Master and Commander was Patrick O'Brien, 20 books, best business books in my mind ever written, right? But when you're out on that frigate, this 18th century, late 18th century frigate captain, when you're out on that frigate, you're not getting any more sailors on that boat. That's it. You're going to work with that team that's there, right?
Yeah.
So whatever you've recruited in port, that's who you've got. You want them to be motivated.
Yeah.
And so, I'm a big believer in bonus and meaningful bonus, not a couple $1,000s at the end of the year as your Christmas bonus. No, meaningful bonus. It just, back in the day, next student, my top 8 reps, again, 2006, made $250,000 or more.
In their bonus?
In their total
Their total compensation? Wow.
Their salary was like 40,000.
That's like an executive salary.
It is.
That's awesome.
My reps here make equivalent. They make very good money here, and they know that. So guess
So they're paying for lunch going forward.
you know what? And I would have my reps at Next, and they do that here too. When the phones are ringing, they would bring their families would bring lunches into them. I had chair massages. And I did Google before Google did Google. So we had chair massages. We had an on-site gym. In this case of M2I and Wi-Fi, we're literally across the parking lot.
Best gym.
From Lifetime, and we pay for their membership at Lifetime. It's super important that they have that. But comp is really important, and they're on group and individual bonus. And I think that's really critical, because group, if you're on only individual, people will become competitive with one another. If they're on group bonus, they'll work together. So now they feel like they have independent control of their life, and they also are working as a team.
Yeah.
And that gets everyone aligned. Our health care here is phenomenal. I mean, you can go to Mayo Clinic if you work at Wi-Fi or at M2I. You can make that happen. So
the best of the best salespeople should be lined up outside the door to get a job here.
they should.
You're going to get treated very well.
They should be. They should.
So I've seen you though walk the line of being, of giving an overwhelming amount of grace and patience to people who work for you, but also have very high expectations of them.
True.
How do you walk that line? That's a tough.
I said people know I expect a lot. Look, I didn't start with a lot of money. I started with my family's blue collar. Okay. So, and literally after I lost next student, went to almost, negative money, not zero. So you have to, all you really have is an idea and your intellect to drive. And so I like to do the hard things as the owner of DHX Software that does all of our software dev here. Bruce says, you love to do the hard things. I do. Why do I like to do the hard things? I'm a former road bike racer, right? And I loved riding in the hills. Back in the day when I was 150 pounds, right? I could, ride the hills because people get discouraged in the hills. And that's a message too for entrepreneurs. When things are tough, that's when you're going to gain the most ground. When it's easy, and there's the discipline. When things seem easy, that's when you need to push harder. Yeah. Not back off. Oh, it's easy. Now I can back off. No, push harder.
I get anxiety when things get easy. I start getting anxiety.
What shoe's going to drop, right?
Yeah.
No, not that. Just like, I'm not doing enough. I'm not doing enough.
Yeah. I mean, maybe that's what it is. I don't know. But yeah, it's, so I do expect a lot out of people. And I expect people to constantly learn. I've never stopped studying. I read all the time, and I still have all my college textbooks in my office, and people are like, do you read those? Yes, I do. That's from 1979, 78. All my engineering texts are up there, and I'm still plow through them every once in a while and look at them and go, okay, how do I do a force vector analysis? But that's orthogonal thinking, right? Because those things carry into what we're doing today in finance.
Can we switch tracks for
Sure.
a second? Because one of your pillars is marketing, branding and marketing.
You bet.
Why is that one of the pillars for you?
Well, I'm going to separate branding and marketing I think.
Yeah.
So branding is hyper important, right? They're both hyper important. The brand should be something that people recognize. If I say Nike, you see the two lines that make up the swoosh. If I say Coca-Cola, you see the Coca-Cola script and you see the Coca-Cola bottle. Name a brand. It's that simple thing that you look at and you go, I recognize that, right? So you need that thing that's memorable, that's simple. It shouldn't be like telling you everything about what your company does, but it should be something that people see it and they go, that is Y-Refi, that is Next Student, that is Scholarships 101, that is M2I. And they see that thing, it's not up here, but M2I, Inspired Vibe did the M2I logo for us. I was very insistent it needs to be simple, straightforward, to the point.
We went through like 12 versions, maybe.
Right, and I told you when I didn't like it, I'm like, that sucks. Do it again, right? Right, I did, right? So that's branding. Marketing, super critical. So marketing ties in with cash flow. Marketing is really cool because it piggybacks two things. You are able to get branding, not brand, but branding, and cash flow by marketing, because people see that brand over and over again. So you're getting branding, you're getting brand recognition, but you're also marketing. And when you're marketing, the important thing about marketing, the next step in marketing is sales. Once you run through the sales process, that means revenue. And developing cash flow early in your business is really important, because you don't want to have to go back to your investors, back to the well. If you happen to take an equity investor, you don't want to have to go back to that well. You want that cash flow, and people get encouraged. And that also builds excitement in the company when people start seeing, your employees start seeing the revenues coming in, and they realize, okay, this is working. People get excited, and they'll rally around you when they see that.
So it helps build morale and momentum within each department as well.
I just think I wish more business owners could understand, because it's the first thing that goes when cash flow gets lowered or threatened, or there's just a cash flow issue. They say, cut the marketing budget. And let
me talk about that.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. So, look, I mentioned accountants and versus finance people and versus controllers. Controllers there to make sure you don't run out of cash, your cash, right? Mm-hmm. The last thing you should ever cut is marketing. The absolute last thing. And by the way, you can never cost cut yourself into profitability. You see it happen all the time.
all the time.
And people gut companies and take somebody. That's not the problem. Identify the root cause of the problem. What's happened in the business where we slow to react in the marketplace? I'm going to pick a little bit on Federal Express. 20 years ago, I'm like, yeah, FedEx better be careful of Amazon. Because once Amazon has gate space and airplanes, they're going to start a packaging service. Guess what? They have a package service. FedEx should have been more forward-thinking and should have entered into Amazon space and come up with a store and be able to buy. Imagine a FedEx today that could compete effectively against Amazon, and FedEx was in that position and they didn't do it. So, yeah, marketing is the last place you should ever cut your budget, and it drives my controller nuts. She's like, okay, you realize that our Google budget is $35,000 a day. So, yesterday we spent $35,000 in Google, but we made $750,000.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, Why would I want to do that all day long? Take that deal all day long.
Yeah, that's really inspiring. So something you said earlier was a lot of businesses start and then they have that big wave in the beginning and then they don't push beyond that wave.
Correct.
So tell me more about that.
Yeah, that's vision. That comes down to my job as a CEO to set that vision. That's CEOs are important. You know, they're that's what they're there to do. You need all the other structure that's underneath the CEO, but I'm here to set the vision, right? I mean, we're doing fragrance for M2I, right? We're probably the first piece of software ever that actually has a real fragrance, right? Why? That's me setting that vision going, I want a fragrance attached to this software because it's hard for people to remember what all those there's a zillion software, back office software packages that do all this different stuff, right? But if I can put a fragrance in people's mind at trade shows, market that fragrance and people attach that to that software, every time they smell it, they think about that software. If they give it to their significant other, it's a unisex fragrance, and they're wearing it, what are you going to think about? It's a damn software again, right?
Yeah.
So
it's really weird. It is tied to a software, but it smells so good.
It's amazing, right? The whole place smells like it.
And scent is very memorable.
Your olfactory is the strongest memory you have.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's genius.
Yeah. What else?
Another thing that you talked about was you talked about IT, having excellent IT. You wanted to make sure that we got that on the list. So tell us about that.
Depending on, I'd say in any business today, I don't know of a single business today that you don't need a good IT backbone.
And what does that encompass for you within a business?
Well,
serve it. What does it serve?
Let's talk about, I'm just going to, a shameless plug on M2I, okay?
Please.
So M2I runs Y-Refi, but M2I is built to run other businesses as well. It's built to run any number of businesses, real estate investment trust, somebody that has solar farms. It doesn't matter what it is. It's built to do that back office. We are a lender on the Y-Refi side. We're a lender that specializes in refinancing defaulted private student loans. And we can talk a little bit about why that financial product is unique and so special to our industry and why it is so successful. And the insight that most people would never see and go, well, how is that possible, right? Our IT runs on our unified database. So clearly I'm an engineer. I'm sorry. I'm actually mechanical. So control systems, mechanical. So all this stuff, I've learned all of this. I've had to learn it outside. I don't have a CS degree, computer science. Don't have that. But I've had to learn all of this stuff and I've coded my own stuff as well. So I know what's involved in that. So I get it. But our software runs all of our loan originations, runs all of our loan servicing. All of that feeds the whole unified database. Our software also runs all of our investments. We bring in investments, what's called a Reg D 506C, underneath the SEC Reg D 506C. We bring in investments from high net worth individuals that are called accredited investors. So we bring in accredited investors, and that software runs that as well. It brings the investments in, it tracks. We have a very unique product. We have a ladder product, and we're just talking about some stuff that we want to do on the back end in the retirement when people reach term on those investments and how we handle the payout or return of their principal. So those all feed that same thing. All of that, including our accounting platform, feeds a capital planning module. So we're able to look at this capital planning and we can look out and go, okay, we've got capital that's due back to investors in 3.5 years. We've got to give this guy back $2.5 million. So we know that's coming now, like now. It's real time. We know in 15 years that that what our student loan volume based on today's production and projections within the new CRM that M2I has, that CRM is a predictive CRM. So we know what kind of revenues that we're going to see off of our student loan portfolio going out for 25 years.
So it sounds like what you're saying, a really great IT department or IT team would do is take a look at your business model, continue to strategize on how we can run this more
Yes.
efficiently with technology,
Correct.
get more efficient, provide more solutions, make more money.
Yes. Now, we didn't start off with a giant IT budget. I mean, the things I'm talking about are clearly costly to do, right? We didn't start out that way. Most entrepreneurs start out coding themselves. I've done that. You do it, right? Going back to the first business, Scholarships 101, 10-year company. It was client server software. Again, we had great brand. We had great marketing with that, but we were a little tiny company. Annual revenues under $1 million. I mean, it was just a little tiny company. When we, in the year 2000, the internet came along around then. I mean, I know what the internet was before then, but it really came on strong around 2000 and literally wiped that client server software out overnight. Like overnight, our sales went to zero. Wow. Now, talk about, something that knocks you for a loop, right? So I told the guy that I was working with, I'd brought him in from China and done the whole, I can't remember what the thing I had to do with the immigration service and all that to bring him in and all that. So I had to do all that. And I'm like, okay, Wei Chang is Wilson, affectionately Wilson. I said, I don't know where we're going with this, but one thing I know, we got to be to the internet. And so he and I sat down and we bought every Oracle, if people know what Oracle is, Oracle 8. So it's a way back machine, Oracle 8 and Cold Fusion, which was then a web development platform. And we knew nothing about building web servers, nothing. And we literally had 2 stacks of books on 2 tables about this size. And he and I sat together for 30 days and we translated that code, got that code, all of the client server software. We built a web server, web services. We took that web service, we took that web application, hung it on an ISP, an internet service provider, in a rack. And I remember there was only like about this much space, could barely get our servers in, and they were 2 desktop souped up machines. This was it. It was like, I'm trying to think of the name of the show. I'll think of it here in a bit. But anyway, and had that thing up and running in 30 days. Moral of the story is we got approached by a student loan company within 30 days after launch. And they said, hey, you know what? If you do these kind of leads and these kind of leads, we get $40 and $20, something like that. It was whatever it was. Mm-hmm. But before we were doing all this software packaging and doing this, that, and the other thing. And now all of a sudden we're making $100,000 a month. We're getting checks for $100,000 a month selling leads, which was our entree into the student loan.
So is this,
but it was IT.
What you guys were creating with those books and the servers in the little room, was that essentially a search engine for?
It was that we had a database of scholarships we were tracking.
Scholarships, yeah. So it was like a search engine for scholarships.
Yeah. Interestingly, my career has followed what I call the student loan student college financing life cycle. Mm-hmm. I started out my early career in 1990 doing scholarship search for people as early as their sophomore year in high school. Mm-hmm. So for scholarship search. By the time I hit 2000, now we were doing loans for people going into college.
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh.
And then we moved to loans for people who were trying to consolidate their loans. Yeah. And today we're helping people who are in their 30s and 40s. Yeah. They're out in their careers and trying to solve the student loan debt that they have. Yeah. So my career has followed along.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But you asked about the IT. The IT is critical. Not everyone can afford what we can afford today. We understand that. But you can do it yourself, but it takes a lot of hard work.
I think the message is it's important that business owners know that needs to be an investment into your company.
It does.
You need to allocate.
And it's vision in the IT too. It's not just vision in marketing and sales, it's vision in the IT. Mm-hmm. Because every time you add more to your backbone, you increase your capabilities. You're expanding your market. Mm-hmm. So it's really important that you reinvest into IT as well. Continue that investment. You can never stop growing in IT. You have to keep going. Today there's things, you have to protect against ransomware, right? That's a big deal. So I'm really like adamant about that. We do an air gap, not a virtual air gap, a real air gap, offsite tape backup. We're looking at bringing someone in to help us out and actually do that, to offload that work from us. We do it today. Actually, DHX software. We're in 3 Azure regions and all this stuff, and then we do the air gaps. So, but you have to keep thinking about that and where is your IT going, because that allows you to grow your business and to grow your market.
Yeah, there's certain things that you just cannot do without an IT
Well, yeah, you can't.
specialist.
You can't. You can't. You'd be severely limited.
How have these pillars impact? But you already did that.
What
With
else
every
do you want?
pillar, you go straight into the story of how that's made an impact on your business, or how you couldn't have moved forward without that. So,
Yeah.
anyways, I think we could talk all day, but I've learned a lot.
I have
even
too.
just in these
I have two
minutes.
We always learn from you. I would say that just our experience working with you on the M2I project, it once a week, twice a week, maybe now, even more frequently, we're saying, how do we think bigger? How can we think bigger about this? And it's made her and I better decision makers, better leaders, better at casting the vision. We were just talking a few days ago about, I'm learning so much about, there are times where you can strong arm somebody into doing what you want them to do because of a contract or whatever.
Right.
That just doesn't get you anywhere. What really gets you somewhere is casting a vision, really defining what the shared outcomes are, and driving alignment through that. Then what people will bring to that from a motivation standpoint, their own motivation to want to make it happen, is infinitely more powerful than forcing somebody or saying it's your job or whatever. You're on a contract to do this.
You're in the creatives business,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
You and the two of you are very creative, obviously very talented, but you can't do it all.
Right.
And so, in having an alignment.
Nobody has.
Right.
No one that any business owner is looking at going, oh, I want to be there someday. I want to do what that person did. They did not do it without a team of talented people.
You have to.
Yeah.
You have to, unless you want to be a sole proprietorship and you want to be limited by your own
capacity.
capacity.
Yeah. There's only so much time in a day.
Yeah.
There is.
And if anybody could squeeze more out of a day, it would be the three of us.
Yeah.
Probably so. Probably so.
I told her that this morning. I said, my only frustration, I said, I love everything we're doing, but my only frustration is there's not enough time in the day. I want to do more.
Yeah.
It's always the case, right? It's, but you leverage with great people working for you and properly aligned and all of that. So.
Yep. Absolutely.
You've taught us a lot, and we're excited to stay on the journey and continue to learn with you.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for being on our podcast.
Thanks, Don.
You're welcome.
Thanks for joining us on another episode of the Bold and Inspired Leaders Podcast.
Keep making bold moves and leading inspired lives. See you next time.